Welcome to Season 4 of the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom, where we discuss business agility through customer experience, employee experience, and digital transformation. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom. The Agile World podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. To read more about the topics discussed on this show, you can go to my website at gregkihlstrom.com and read my latest articles or get a copy of my latest book, Meaningful Measurement of the Customer Experience, now available on Amazon and other retailers. My name is Greg Kihlstrom, and I'm the host of the Agile World podcast. Today we're going to talk about how to grow and market local businesses, both at an individual local level as well as at a national level with multiple locations. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Chris Pistorius, CEO of KickStart Dental Marketing. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about this with you. So why don't we start by having you give a little background on yourself and what you do at KickStart Dental.
Yeah, so I started this agency about 12 and a half years ago, I guess. It's been that long now. And really, when we first started, I took on all kinds of different clients, not just dentists. But we kind of quickly found out within a year or so that we think there'd be a pretty big advantage in the marketplace to niche down and really try to become an expert, in one thing. And so far, our clients love it. They love the fact that, somebody specializing in what they do and, understands nuances and competition and, just all that kind of fun stuff. So professionally, that's kind of where I am. We have a team of about 12 people here, and we consider ourselves more of a boutique agency. So we don't really want to become that big conglomerate or anything, but we want to stay small, stay local. Well, not necessarily local. We have clients all over the country, but just kind of give that boutique feel and a higher level of customer service. But my office is here in Denver, Colorado. I'm married to my wife, Michelle, for 17 years now. I've got 2 kids and 3 dogs now. My goodness, what's going on?
Lost track.
Yeah, just try to stay busy with kids and family and that kind of stuff.
Nice. Well, great. Well, I'm looking forward to talking through. So let's dive into the topic here and talk about growing local businesses in a single location first. So there's certainly several challenges to small business these days, everything from hiring and retention to larger competitors with deeper pockets. How do you start your work with a local business to understand where the biggest challenges as well as biggest opportunities lie?
Yeah, I think it all starts with what we call a needs analysis meeting. And that's where we really dive into, what's going on with the business and, what's your competition look like? And we help with some of that too. We'll do a lot of market research on the market, competition, things like that. But what we have to be able to understand is what's going on internally in the business that, that can be helped and what experience can we bring that can help that, fairly quickly. So I think you almost have to paint a picture of a customer avatar, if you will. So you really understand who it is that you want to attract in marketing versus just being, just trying to go out for everyone, right? If you understand who your customers are or who you want them to be, and you can paint that avatar, that makes marketing just that much more efficient.
Are there common threads that you see in opportunities or low-hanging fruit for local businesses to take advantage of that they may not immediately think of?
Yeah, I think, low-hanging fruit, when you mention that to me, and we get all kinds of different clients, but some of them are looking for more of a longer term strategy. But almost everybody does want to get some return as soon as possible, right? So when I think of that, I like to talk about reactivation campaigns. And it depends what your business is and what your industry is. But, you've probably already got a lot of customers, or at least some customers that you have already done business with you. And these are people that already know you, like you, and trust you, right? So why don't we do something, marketing wise, to try to get them back in and buy more stuff, right? Or at the very least, try to get them to refer you to their family and friends. So we do these remarketing or reactivation campaigns that reaches out to your past customers and, we put together some really intriguing content, and we send emails, text to them. We even do voicemail drops sometimes, and we do a sequence, and we follow up with them a few times, and we may even throw an offer in there. So that's something that you can do relatively straightforwardly that can drive results pretty quickly.
Let's talk about measures of success. So there's some obvious ones, I'm sure, but how should that local business start looking at success and judging how they're doing in their marketing?
Yeah, I think for local businesses, success always comes down to the bottom line. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about. And the unfortunate thing is that in my world, marketing agencies in general will, give you a report on, how many times somebody went to your website, or how many clicks your ad got, or how many times your ad showed up on a page. And that's all great. We use that information to help run our campaigns, but realistically, that does nothing to really give you a sense of if marketing's working or not, right? What really matters is how many people came into your business, bought something. So when we do tracking and reporting, we track, and we spend a lot of money and time in this, but we are able to track actual how many times somebody bought your widget, how many times somebody came into your dental practice, directly from our campaign efforts. So if you can do it as a local business, really put together a tracking mechanism that can show ROI and results for your dollars.
Now let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about organizations that have multiple locations competing at the local level still. What are some of the key challenges here?
Well, the challenges here in my world in terms of digital marketing is that you've got to make sure that Google, if you will, really understands that you're the same business in multiple locations. And there's ways that you can do that and represent that on your website, certainly. You have to really need to build out a location page for each one of your locations. Now, some businesses, multi-location businesses, are set up where each location has its own website and its own entity. And if that's the case, you're in good shape in terms of what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of businesses out there that will actually use one website for all of their locations. And each location really needs their own dedicated page with their own phone number, their own address, and their own unique content. That will really help you in terms of being more visible on Google. Now, to go along with that, each location also gets what's called a free Google My Business profile on Google. It's an absolute free tool, and each location should have unique information in it in terms of name, address, phone number. Unique, not meaning that you have to change the name of your business, but each location should have its own profile. And so the complexities there are pretty big. You just got to really know what you're doing and understand how to build out those location pages. So when I think of multi-location, that's really the first thing that comes to my mind.
So what is your work with these organizations that have multiple locations? What kinds of work do you do with them?
Yeah, so we set them up properly, like what I just talked about in terms of their website, making sure their location pages are built out correctly, making sure everything checks out. And then we actually also create the Google My Business profiles for them, optimize all of those, and make sure that they are doing everything that they can so that when somebody searches for their type of business in their local market, that their Google My Business profile will show up as high as possible. So we really work around all of that. Also, we set up multiple social media profiles for each location. It's really our job to make sure that when somebody's looking for a dentist in their local market, that our client is going to be the one that is found and chosen. So, and it's the same for any industry. It's not, dentistry isn't special in that. So we'd use the same method for any type of business.
And so, how often are your customers coming to you with? I mean, I would imagine a lot of local dentists don't have full blown marketing teams and stuff like that. How do you work with them to um, kind of demonstrate the value of? I would imagine if this is the first time that they're ever hiring an external marketing team, it's they have to justify that cost expenditure or whatever. But even so, how do you look at differentiating your agency from others? Where you mentioned some things at the beginning of the show of just, a lot of agencies will just kind of give a report and, good
Hmm.
luck, good luck reading it,
Yeah.
and all, don't these numbers look good as long as they're going in the right direction. But how do you try to set your agency apart?
Yeah, it can be tough sometimes because, in dentistry especially, that industry is just packed full of people that think they're dental marketing experts, right?
Right.
And so anybody with a laptop and, maybe have taken a Google Ads course or something, they think they're kind of qualified to do this. And, in some cases they are. But, the thing that separates us, I think, is just, that boutique approach where we're not going to get big. In fact, we only take on a certain number of clients every year, and that's just the way we're going to run our business. And that allows us to stay small and really focus on our clients and really get the best results we possibly can for our clients, right? So there's not a lot of other agencies that do that and want to stay small. So we're not a one person shop, certainly, right, where you've just got one person trying to figure it all out.
Right.
But we don't have 100 people either, where we lose track of focus and try to scale and cut corners and use automation. I mean, we've got a full team of people that do nothing but take care of clients, do SEO work, do paid advertising, do web development, and really my job in the business is to really look at what's going to be next, right? So like we're testing TikTok right now for dentists. We're testing Snapchat advertising for dentists. We're testing in Nextdoor, doing Nextdoor ads in for dentistry. So what my agency brings is a personal level of service, but we also are on the cutting edge of what's going to be the next big thing to help our clients really beat out their competition. So, we still have competition in that space, but there's not as much. And it seems like people that are serious about marketing their business, marketing their dental practice, appreciate that and they see that value. And that's really what separates us from everybody else.
From an entrepreneur's perspective, you have focused. So I ran a marketing agency a number of years ago, and I had a hard time focusing. So I respect your your ability to focus on a target niche and really kind of dive deep and stuff like that, because I think there are definitely some benefits there. Um, like I guess what did you start that way, or did you kind of come to that decision? Like what was that? How did you kind of get there?
Yeah, it was just the problem with, I think that if you don't really understand the industry that you're trying to market into, it's going to be tough sailing. And you may not get the results that the clients are going to expect. And that's what we experienced. And so we decided that, look, we need to, let's roll the dice here a little bit instead of just, the world is open to us. We're going to niche down and just do dentistry. And that really decision on what to get into was based on what we were currently doing. So at the time, we had, I think, 4 or 5 different dentists in our agency. We were getting really good results for them. They always paid their bill, which is nice, and they were
Nice.
pretty easy to work with, right? The caveat to that, or the negative side of that, was everybody wants to sell to dentists. It's very competitive in terms of, other agencies, because everybody sees dentists as just being, I guess, full of money and ready to spend, which isn't the case. But so there's a lot of competition in the industry. So it was a little bit of a risk, but we started out small. We just reached out to local dentists in a kind of in our area, kicked butt for them, got some great, reviews and testimonials from them. And then we just kind of built our business that way. So it's been a fun 12 years, but that's really how we got it started.
Oh, I guess keeping on the train of thought of being an entrepreneur and things like that. I mean, you are an entrepreneur that started and grew your own company, and you see a lot of, even though they may be focused in the dental industry, to your point earlier, there's a lot of similarities among just local businesses and professional services and things like that. What advice would you have for someone in this time that's thinking about, we're going through the great resignation, they call it, lots of people kind of leaving their jobs, thinking about striking out on their own. What advice would you have for someone that's thinking about that, just from, from your, from a marketing branding, from that kind of perspective?
Yeah, I think do something you're good at, certainly, but also do something you're passionate about. It's marketing for me. That's what I've always done. I've worked for some large agencies. I worked for AOL back in the day when they were like Google of today.
Right.
So, that's what I always really enjoyed was the success of marketing, watching a business, take my advice and watching them grow into, big companies, bigger companies, or, just hitting the goals that they've set for themselves. So that's very satisfying to me. And that's what I'm passionate about. The other thing I think you need to think about is, when you start out a new business is, you know, throw away a business plan. I know it's going to sound strange because most people will tell you write out a business plan,
Right.
but I wasted a lot of time on that and just trying to perfect a business plan. And if I went back and looked at that business plan now, it would be nothing like what I do.
Yeah.
Now, I still think you have to write down ideas and you have to write down goals and you have to write down what you're passionate about and what you want. But I don't think you need to do a traditional business plan in the sense of a business plan. The last thing is think about early your processes and procedures because that's something I didn't do. I didn't think about, okay, well, what happens if this happens or if that happens? And I didn't document, how we do everything. And honestly, I'm still struggling with that today because I didn't start that way. So even if you don't have a customer yet, if you're going to sell widgets, document that process of what you've got to do to sell a widget. And then document the processes after you sell something. How do you fulfill it? Right? Because that's just going to help you in the future as you grow to hire people, have documentation and, let the business kind of run based off the processes versus you having to be involved in everything.
Yeah, and just to go back to so I agree with your point on the business plan. So I think I wouldn't recommend that someone doesn't write one, and yet I think in line with what you're saying as well. So the only time that I actually found a business plan helpful was when I was trying to go raise money from VCs,
Yeah.
and they just
Yeah.
needed, that was a box they had to check, and so
Right.
therefore we had to write it. What I realized, I mean, I started my first company when I was like 24 years old. I knew nothing about, I didn't even know about the business that I was getting into. I didn't know that I didn't know,
Right.
but which is even worse. But I surely didn't know about the business. So writing a business plan, I saw it one day. We tried to write one, and it was just kind of a joke. And I think it's important to do those things and to go through those exercises, but to understand that it's got to be. I mean, the name of the show is The Agile World. It's got to be an iterative process that that you don't know everything right now. There's going to be things that you uncover and things like that. And I think when you do, even the process stuff, totally, I'm a firm believer in process, and I've got my Six Sigma black belt and all that stuff. So I obviously I'm not afraid of process, but I also understand that I'm sure you could attest to this as well, as even if you document your processes today, you need a process in place to improve those and change those and redocument and stuff like that. Because certainly, I'm sure over 12 years, I mean, you've seen a lot of things change in the marketing space, right?
Oh, it's almost daily, and it's almost a full-time job now to keep all of our process and procedures updated. So
Yeah.
we manage it at a department level, and whoever's in charge of the department is also responsible for updating those process and procedures if something changes.
Yeah, that's great. And
Yeah.
to go into it knowing that, yes, this is as good as we can possibly get it today, but we know it's going to need to change. And so, I mean, fundamentally scrapping and starting over, then you've got bigger problems. But to what you're saying of just like updating and making sure, like, I think that's something I've seen with smaller orgs, is thinking that they can kind of just set it and forget it. And then
Right.
we don't have to think about process again. Well, sorry.
It doesn't work that way, does it?
Right. Nice.
Yeah,
Well,
and it
yeah.
helps. It really helps with, we're hiring 2 or 3 new people right now. And it really helps to have those things mapped out in like a document so that, somebody could almost just come in off the street. And if your process and procedures are good enough, really do their job based off writing those. So it's really helped us like with training and things like that.
Yeah, I would imagine the onboarding process, even the knowledge transfer when people do inevitably leave and there's turnover or whatever, knowledge transfer becomes a lot easier as well. And I mean, I would imagine, that there's cost savings there, but your clients must appreciate that too, because they don't have to re-explain
Right.
stuff, and they don't feel like like the process changes every time somebody comes or goes on vacation or something like that as well.
Right, exactly.
Great. Well, Chris, thanks so much for joining. Really enjoyed talking with you here. For those listening, what's the best way for them to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, I think kickstartdental.com, my website, Kickstart, like kickstart a motorcycle, dental.com. I've got, I do a weekly podcast myself. And, yeah, I'm in the dental niche, but most of the stuff that we talk about there is really any type of industry, any type of business could really learn from. So we don't hold anything back. We tell people exactly how we do things in our agency. And I think you probably get some good tips and tricks from that.
Well, thanks again. I'd like to thank Chris Pistorius, CEO of KickStart Dental Marketing, for joining the show. Thanks again for listening to the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom podcast, brought to you by Tech Systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe on your podcast channel of choice and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.theagilebrand.show. To get a copy of my latest book, Meaningful Measurement of the Customer Experience, visit my website at gregkihlstrom.com. Until next week, stay agile.